but leave that aside for a second. The group WikiLeaks put out a transcript, I guess, essentially, of what Mr. Snowden said at the airport. At the top of that transcript, it contained, it said that the Human Rights Watch, the representative from Human Rights Watch, researcher who went to this thing, while she was on her way to the airport, got a phone call from the American ambassador asking her to relay a message to Mr. Snowden that basically the message that you just gave here, that one, he is not a whistleblower, and two, that he's wanted in the United States. Is that correct?
It is not correct. First, Ambassador McFaul did not call any representative from Human Rights Watch. An embassy officer did call to explain our position, certainly that I just reiterated here for all of you today, but at no point did this official or any official from the U.S. government ask anyone to convey a message to Mr. Snowden.
Did anyone from the embassy call any of the other groups, representatives of groups that were going to this meeting?
Well,
that you understood were going to this meeting?
As I'm sure would be no surprise, and as you know, because we even had a civil society event when the secretary was there, we are in regular touch, as we have been today. I don't have an update on the exact list of calls, though, for you.
Well, but you can say pretty conclusively that this one call did happen, and it wasn't the ambassador. So were there others? Do you know?
We have been in touch with attendees. Okay. I don't have any specifics for you, though.
Okay, and and you have made no secret of the fact that any country or government that gives Mr. Snowden asylum or allows him to transit through, that there would be some serious consequences, grave consequences in their relationship with the United States.
Mm-hmm.
Have you made the same, and presumably that would apply to individuals who would help him help him avoid returning here to face justice? That's correct?
I'm not sure what that exactly means.
What I'm getting at is these groups, these human rights groups that are respected human rights groups, mm-hmm. which you yourself, as well as previous spokespeople, have quoted from in
mm-hmm.
relation to other situations, have taken a side in support of Mr. Snowden. And I'm wondering if there are any consequences for them if they aid and abet Mr. Snowden in staying away out of the reach of U.S. authorities.
Well, we obviously don't think this was a proper forum or a proper elevation of him. Beyond that, the way that I think it's been asked, but also the way we've thought about it, is more about governments and our relationships with them and their aid or decisions to aid Mr. Snowden.
Right, but I guess the question is, if you think this was an inappropriate forum, did you try to dissuade these groups from going there?
From attending?
Yeah.
Not that I'm aware of, Matt.
Okay,
obviously, they were invited to attend.
So the calls were just a reminder of your position. But did you say to Human Rights Watch or Amnesty International that if you guys help Mr. Snowden, support him in some way so that to keep him from facing justice back in the United States, that there would be consequences for them?
I don't have any readouts of these calls. Our focus remains
on well, then can you say,
conveying to the Russian government the fact that they have the ability to help return Mr. Snowden to the United States.
Did you tell them in the calls that you did not think that Mr. Snowden should have the opportunity to express his view?
Matt, I don't have any readout for these calls for you. We did convey the broad point that I've made.
Okay, well then forget about what you said or what the embassy people said in these specific phone calls. Do you believe that Mr. Snowden should not have had the opportunity to express his views at the airport in Moscow today?
Well, Matt, I think we broadly believe in free speech, as you know.
But
we cannot look at this as I know we like to ask about sweeping scenarios in here, but
no, this is not sweeping at all. This is very specific, related to one guy in one place, in one city, one airport, one time. So do you think that it was inappropriate for Mr. Snowden to speak publicly? Not that whether you're disappointed in the Russians, do you think that he should not have had the opportunity to speak publicly?
Our focus, Matt, is on how our concern about how Russian authorities clearly helped assist the ability of attendees to participate in this. Mm-hmm. That is of concern to us. Our focus is on returning Mr. Snowden to the United States. Beyond that, I just don't have anything more.
Okay, I'm trying to get, you are saying that this essentially, it wasn't a press conference, but it might as well have been. And you don't think the Russians should have
Facilitated a propaganda platform for Mr.
A
Snowden.
propaganda platform. Okay, so this is, to your mind, something like them bringing out a defected spy from the Cold War and putting him on a platform and having him rail against the United States. Is that what the
I'm not going to draw
administration
comparisons along those lines, but let me say
believes? A propaganda
that
platform
Mr.
is close enough.
Snowden should return to the United States to face these charges. Where he will be accorded a fair trial. That's where our focus is.
Propaganda platform, or is this kind of putting in train a process for asylum? Because last week or 2 weeks ago, the Russians said that they would consider his request for asylum if Mr. Snowden would stop leaking material about or leaking information about U.S. Surveillance programs. Now, he wouldn't do that before, and he tried some other areas for asylum. Now, in this propaganda platform, as you call it, he said that he has decided not to leak any more information, or he doesn't have any more information, but he's done. So are you concerned now that this is him accepting conditions for Russian asylum publicly as opposed to just, some kind of propaganda? I mean, is that your real concern here, that these are the conditions for asylum and now he's publicly meeting them?